The Volume 2 trailer for Stranger Things Season 5 just dropped, and it completely shattered everything we thought we knew about this show. We've been watching Vecna this entire time thinking he's the ultimate villain, the final boss, the mastermind behind it all. But the ending of this trailer reveals something absolutely insane. Vecna isn't the main villain, he never was. So let's break down the most important scenes from this trailer and expose the true villain that's been pulling the strings since Season 1. The most important scene in the entire trailer happens when Steve and Dustin are exploring the vine-covered ruins of Hawkins' lab inside the Upside Down. They're moving through the darkness when suddenly they stop dead in their tracks. Then we see a massive, swirling vortex of red and black energy spinning and pulsing above their heads like a living entity. It's something completely different from what we've seen so far. Something ancient. Nancy and Jonathan see something similar in other shots, both staring up at the sky where this massive energy is writhing and twisting. This isn't something Vecna created. This is something that was already there. This vortex isn't just visual chaos. It looks like a concentrated mass of energy capable of tearing down the wall surrounding Hawkins. The barrier that's been holding the Upside Down back is weakening, and this could be the force meant to break it completely. But the more terrifying possibility is this. The vortex isn't just energy. It's a hiding place. Something far worse may be trapped inside it, using that swirling power as a shell, waiting for the moment when the wall finally breaks and it can emerge. Max and Holly are navigating through Vecna's mindscape in the trailer. We see them leaving the cave and walking toward a mysterious door floating in the middle of a field. They're traveling through Henry's memories, moving backward through his life. Episode 6 is titled Escape from Camazotz, a direct reference to A Wrinkle in Time. In that book, Camazotz is a planet controlled by an evil entity called IT that creates a hive mind and controls everyone. Sound familiar? That's exactly what the Mind Flayer does. Max and Holly are trying to reach the moment of Henry's corruption. They're searching for the Nevada cave memory, the place where the Mind Flayer first infected him. If they can reach that memory, if they can somehow interfere with that moment, they might be able to sever the connection between Vecna and the Mind Flayer. We see flashes of Mr. Whatsit, the friendly version of Henry guiding Holly, contrasted with the gaunt, life-drained version after he killed his family. These are two sides of the same person, the innocent child who wanted to be normal and the corrupted monster who embraced darkness. Somewhere between those extremes is the real Henry Creel, trapped and terrified. One of the most powerful moments in the trailer shows Eleven reconnecting with Kaylee, also known as Number 8. Eleven asks Callie for help finding Vecna and killing him, which immediately raises an important question. Eleven has already confronted Vecna before. She was the one who banished him to Dimension X. So why does she need Callie now? The answer lies in the nature of Kaylee's abilities. Unlike Eleven, Kaylee's power is rooted in illusion. She can manipulate perception, create false realities, and alter what people believe they're seeing. Vecna's greatest weapon has always been the mind, invading memories, twisting trauma, and breaking his victims from the inside. Kaylee's powers directly counter that strength. She can disrupt his control, confuse his senses, and potentially trap him inside a fabricated reality where his influence no longer holds power. Together, Eleven and Kaylee represent something entirely new. Two psychics working in harmony, connected not just by shared abilities, but by genuine emotional bonds. Love, trust, and loyalty are forces the Mind Flayer has never truly faced, because it only understands domination and consumption. That emotional connection may be just as important as their powers in the fight ahead. The trailer opens with Will standing after using his new powers against Demogorgons. He just saved everyone. He proved he can control the creatures of the Upside Down. This should be a victory. But instead, Will looks destroyed. His nose is bleeding. He tells Joyce, "We failed. We never stood a chance." Think about that. Will just discovered he has powerful abilities. He can command Demogorgons, channel the power of the Upside Down. And his first reaction is that they never stood a chance? That's not someone who found a new weapon. That's someone who touched the source of the darkness and understood for the first time how impossibly powerful it really is. Will felt something when he connected to the Upside Down, and whatever he felt was enough to make him believe they're fighting a losing battle. The Duffer Brothers have said, Season 5 brings everything full circle back to Will, and this moment suggests Will's role is far from over. When he uses his powers, he's not just copying Vecna, he's tapping into the same source, connecting to Dimension X itself, to the Mind Flayer. Because Will was possessed by the Mind Flayer in Season 2, he has a connection that never fully went away. He can access this power in ways Vecna never could. But there's a cost. Every time Will uses these abilities, he risks losing himself. The more he channels the darkness, the more it consumes him. Will might understand now that defeating the Mind Flayer requires sacrifice. That someone needs to become the bridge between worlds and then destroy that bridge from the inside. And he might be the only one who can do it. One of the most emotional moments is when Steve and Dustin repeat a line from season 3.
You die, I die. You die, I die.
This isn't just a callback, this is foreshadowing. These two are making a genuine pact before going into the heart of the Upside Down, toward that massive vortex, toward the truth about Dimension X. They're doing it knowing they might not come back. In a final season this epic, in a battle against an entity this powerful, there have to be casualties. The fact that the trailer highlights this death pact suggests at least one of them is in serious danger. When they discover the truth about the vortex, when they understand how to close the connection between Dimension X and our world, it might require someone to stay behind, to be the anchor holding the door shut from within. And that's when this death pact becomes real. There's a brief but crucial shot of a Demogorgon inside Hawkins Memorial Hospital, in the area where Max's body is kept. This is a coordinated strike. While Max's consciousness causes problems in Vecna's mindscape, something is trying to eliminate her physical body to trap her consciousness permanently. Lucas has been keeping vigil over Max this entire time. He's going to have to defend her. We've seen Lucas grow from a skeptical kid to someone willing to fight monsters to protect the people he loves. His guilt over not saving Max in season 4 is going to come to a head. If Max's body dies while her consciousness is trapped in Vecna's mindscape, she doesn't just die. She becomes trapped in the mindscape forever. And Lucas would have to live with that. One striking moment shows Nancy popping out of a truck roof and firing at military soldiers while Murray drives. After her encounter with Vecna in season 4, where she saw visions of her family dying and Hawkins destroyed, she's become obsessed with stopping him. The scene shows the group breaking through a massive gate to enter the Upside Down. The fact that Nancy is willing to shoot at military personnel shows how desperate things have become. They're not just fighting monsters, they're fighting their own government. Now let's talk about the most controversial moment in this entire trailer. The ending has sparked a massive debate in the Stranger Things community, and it all centers around one question. Is Vecna kneeling to someone? The trailer ends with a shot of Vecna in a lowered position, and the framing is deliberately ambiguous. Some fans are convinced he's kneeling before a higher power. Others argue he's just in a different pose. The Duffer Brothers intentionally made this scene unclear, and that ambiguity is exactly what makes it so important. Let me break down what we actually see. The final moments show Vecna's transformation sequence, where his human form cycles through to his full monstrous appearance. Then we see him in this lowered position. If he is kneeling, the implications are absolutely massive. It would mean Vecna, who we've been treating as the ultimate villain for 2 seasons, is actually submitting to someone or something more powerful. And based on everything we know from the first Shadow and the lore of the show, there's only one entity that makes sense. The Mind Flayer. Here's why this theory has so much weight behind it. The first Shadow, the canon Broadway play, revealed that when 8-year-old Henry Creel stumbled into Dimension X through that Nevada cave, he encountered the Mind Flayer as an ancient entity. Not as particles he could shape, but as something that already existed. Something that infected him and changed his blood. And here's where things get interesting when you look at the complete picture from both Season 4 and the first Shadow play. In Season 4, we saw Vecna's version of events. He arrived in Dimension X after 11 banished him. He found a swirling cloud of particles and shaped them into the Mind Flayer using his powers. He stood there with his arms outstretched, molding these particles into the spider-like form we know, making it seem like he was the creator, the god bringing order to chaos. But the first Shadow reveals something Season 4 deliberately left out. When 8-year-old Henry encountered the Mind Flayer in Dimension X, it infected him as an entity. The Mind Flayer planted something inside him, changed him fundamentally. So here's the question that changes everything. When Vecna created the Mind Flayer in Dimension X, was he really creating something new? Or was he recreating something that had been living inside his head since he was 8 years old? Was he shaping those particles based on his own design? Or was the Mind Flayer guiding his hands, using him to give itself physical form in this new dimension? If Vecna is kneeling in that final shot, it confirms what some fans have suspected all along. Vecna was never the master. He's the servant. The Mind Flayer has been controlling him since childhood, and every act of cruelty, every murder, every step toward becoming a monster was orchestrated by this ancient entity from Dimension X. The massive swirling vortex that Steve and Dustin discover supports this theory. That thing is enormous, ancient, and far too powerful to be something Vecna created. Some fans have compared it to the It from A Wrinkle in Time, that massive evil entity that controls everything from a central point. That's the Mind Flayer's true form, or at least a gateway to where it exists in Dimension X. The 12 children Vecna kidnapped aren't just powering his abilities, they're being used as anchors to create a wormhole massive enough for the Mind Flayer to cross over from Dimension X into our world in its true physical form. Vecna isn't preparing for his own victory, he's opening the door for his master to enter, and here's the terrifying implication. Vecna might not even fully realize he's being used. He genuinely believes he's reshaping the world according to his own vision. But if that final shot really does show him kneeling, it means there's a moment coming in Volume 2 where the truth is revealed, where Vecna understands that he's not the god he thought he was. He's just another puppet. This explains Will's devastating reaction at the start of the trailer. We never stood a chance. When Will connected to the Upside Down and used those powers, he felt what was really there. He sensed the Mind Flayer's presence in Dimension X. He understood that they're not just fighting one corrupted human with telekinetic abilities, they're fighting something ancient, something that's been planning this invasion long before any of them were born. But here's where it gets interesting. If Vecna realizes he's been manipulated, if Henry Creel's humanity breaks through for one moment and he understands the truth, he might turn against the Mind Flayer. That scared 8-year-old boy who stumbled into the Nevada cave might finally break free and help destroy the monster that's been controlling him since childhood. And that could be the opening our heroes desperately need. Because the Mind Flayer has one weakness. It doesn't understand human emotion, love, or genuine connection. It only knows control and consumption. If Vecna experiences even a moment of rebellion, of choosing his own path instead of following the entity's plan, it could disrupt everything. So, is Vecna kneeling in that final shot? The Duffer brothers aren't giving us a clear answer, but whether he's physically kneeling or not, the evidence points to one undeniable truth. Vecna is serving a higher power. The Mind Flayer from Dimension X is the real villain, and Vecna has been its weapon all along. Here's how this all connects. The Upside Down we've seen since Season 1 is not the original realm. It's a buffer zone, a corrupted reflection of Hawkins created when 11 accidentally opened the gate. It's frozen on November 6, 1983, the day Will was taken, because that's when Vecna made his first real connection to our world. But Dimension X is different. Dimension X is the true source, the realm where the Mind Flayer originates. It's older than humanity. When Eleven banished Henry in 1979, she didn't create Vecna. She completed the transformation that started when Henry was 8 in that Nevada cave. Vecna isn't trying to bring himself to our world, he's already here. What he's really doing is creating a massive wormhole to allow the Mind Flayer to cross over from Dimension X in its true form. That swirling vortex Steve and Dustin discovered? That's the wormhole beginning to form. The 12 children are the anchors, their fear and pain tearing a hole in reality large enough for something massive to pass through. Once that wormhole is fully open, once the Mind Flayer arrives at full power, the entire world is in danger. The only way to stop it is to close the wormhole from the inside, to sever the connection between Dimension X and our reality permanently. And that requires someone to go through, to travel into Dimension X itself, to face the Mind Flayer in its home realm, and destroy the bridge between worlds, even if it means getting trapped on the other side. That's Will's destiny. That's what he realized when he touched the Upside Down's power and said, "We never stood a chance." He understood this isn't a fight they can win from our side. Someone has to go to the source. Will is the only one who can do it. He was possessed by the Mind Flayer in Season 2. He has a connection to the Upside Down that never fully disappeared. He's been sensing the Mind Flayer's presence throughout the entire series. He's the bridge, the link between worlds. And he might be the only weapon that can hurt the Mind Flayer in Dimension X because he carries a piece of it inside him. But Will won't go alone. The Duffer brothers revealed that Mike and Will are at the forefront of the final episodes. Their bond, their relationship, is going to give Will the strength to face the darkness, to walk into Dimension X knowing he might never come back, but doing it anyway because it's the only way to save everyone. And maybe Vecna will help them. Once Henry realizes he's been used, once he understands he was never the mastermind but just another victim, he might have one last act of humanity. He might use his powers to help Will reach the Mind Flayer, to give our heroes the opening they need, and in doing so, finally break free from the entity controlling him since childhood. This revelation that Vecna was never the real villain, that the Mind Flayer has been orchestrating everything from Dimension X, is going to recontextualize the entire series. Every possession, every gate, every monster attack was part of the Mind Flayer's plan. It infected Henry when he was 8 to create a vessel. It waited while his powers developed, while Brenner experimented on him. It guided Eleven's creation, knowing her powers would be necessary to open larger gates. It orchestrated Henry's transformation and banishment to Dimension X, because that's where he needed to be to complete the plan. Everything has been building to this, to the opening of a massive wormhole that will allow the Mind Flayer to invade at full strength. And our heroes have to find a way to come together one last time and stop it. The emotional stakes have never been higher. Steve and Dustin walking into danger with their death pact, Max's life hanging by a thread, Will preparing to sacrifice himself, Eleven pushing herself to her limits. The question at the center is whether love and connection can defeat ancient evil, whether a group of kids from Hawkins can save the world from an entity planning this invasion for centuries. Volume 2 drops on Christmas Day with 3 episodes that will reveal the truth about Dimension X, show us the Mind Flayer's true power, and set up the series finale coming on New Year's Eve. That finale, titled The Right Side Up, is over 2 hours long and will be shown in select theaters as well as Netflix. We've been on this journey since 2016. We've watched these kids grow up, form unbreakable bonds, face impossible horrors. Whatever happens in Volume 2, whatever revelations come, whatever sacrifices are made, it's all been leading to this moment. The final battle isn't just against Vecna, it's against the Mind Flayer, the ancient entity from Dimension X that's been pulling the strings this entire time. It's against the darkness itself, and the only thing standing between the Mind Flayer and victory is a group of kids who refuse to give up, who understand that together they're stronger than any villain, who know that love, friendship, and sacrifice are more powerful than any supernatural force. But what do you think? Is the Mind Flayer really the final villain with Vecna just a puppet? Will Vecna turn against his master when he realizes the truth? Is Will going to sacrifice himself to close the wormhole to Dimension X? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more Stranger Things breakdowns when Volume 2 drops on Christmas Day, make sure to subscribe because we're covering every episode until this incredible story reaches its conclusion on New Year's Eve.